To truly understand how dinosaurs and prehistoric animals met their end, we must first step back in time, far beyond the age of these incredible creatures. We need to set the stage by exploring Earth's ever-changing environments long before the great extinction events unfolded. This journey takes us through epochs of transformation, geological upheaval, climate shifts, and the slow but relentless march of life evolving within these dynamic conditions. Earth's environments have never been static. From its formation about 4.5 billion years ago, the planet has undergone profound changes that have shaped the tapestry of life. Long before the dinosaurs ruled the land, Earth experienced dramatic shifts in atmosphere, climate, seas, and land masses. These foundational changes crafted the context within which prehistoric life emerged, flourished, and ultimately faced challenges that would shape their fates. During the early Precambrian eons, Earth was a hostile place, with a surface bombarded by asteroids and characterized by volcanic activity. The atmosphere then contained little oxygen, dominated by volcanic gases such as methane, ammonia, and carbon dioxide. It was only after billions of years, through the advent of photosynthetic organisms like cyanobacteria, that oxygen began to accumulate. A transformative event known today as the Great Oxygenation Event, roughly 2.4 billion years ago. This shift not only altered atmospheric chemistry, but also laid the groundwork for the evolution of complex, multicellular life. Fast forward through immense stretches of time to the Paleozoic Era, approximately 541 to 252 million years ago. A period characterized by diversification and increasing complexity in marine and terrestrial life. The atmosphere by this time was oxygen-rich, enabling larger and more active organisms to evolve. Early plants colonized land, stabilizing soils and creating new habitats, while the first vertebrates ventured onto dry land. Continents at this time were not fixed. Plate tectonics continually reshaped the planet's surface, leading to the assembly and breakup of supercontinents, such as Rodinia and later Pangaea. Each stage of this continental drift significantly influenced climate and ecosystems. When land masses coalesced into supercontinents, vast interior regions often experienced arid environments due to their distance from oceanic moisture. Conversely, when continents were dispersed, coastal habitats expanded, and climates tended to be more moderate and humid. Such environmental fluctuations played a crucial role in the ebb and flow of species diversification and extinction. During the late Paleozoic, particularly in the Carboniferous period, lush forests of giant ferns and horsetails blanketed much of the landscape, drawing down carbon dioxide and contributing to cooling global temperatures. These dense forests also led to vast coal deposits we mine today. Oxygen levels peaked during this time, even exceeding modern values, which allowed for gigantism in insects and amphibians. As the Permian period unfolded, the final segment of the Paleozoic, Earth witnessed increasing climatic variability and the gradual assembly of Pangaea. The supercontinent's vast size, combined with changing sea levels, caused the creation of extensive dry continental interiors with extreme temperatures. Some evidence points to widespread volcanic activity during this time, which would have triggered bursts of greenhouse gases and put further strain on ecosystems. The changing environments also influenced marine habitats. Shallow inland seas, rich with life, expanded and contracted with varying sea levels, allowing for the bursts of evolutionary innovation and diversification in marine organisms, including corals, brachiopods, and early fish. Yet these habitats were also vulnerable to rapid environmental changes, which sometimes led to abrupt shifts in marine biodiversity. Proceeding into the Mesozoic Era, the age most renowned for housing the dinosaurs, Earth looked very different yet again. The rigid supercontinent of Pangaea began to break apart during the Triassic period, roughly 250 million years ago. This fragmentation had profound consequences on global climate and habitats. With the spread of the continents, climate zones diversified. Equatorial regions often became hot and arid in some areas, while others nurtured lush river systems and forests. These environmental niches became essential stages for various groups of animals to evolve and radiate. The Triassic climate oscillated between extremes, but began trending towards warming, enabling reptiles to diversify. The fragmentation of Pangaea increased the length of coastlines and inland seas, leading to marine ecosystems that supported prehistoric sharks, ammonites, and marine reptiles. Conversely, terrestrial habitats were challenging, with deserts covering much of Pangaea's interior, demanding adaptations for survival under such harsh conditions. The Jurassic period, following the Triassic, witnessed further breakup of the continents. Gondwana and Laurasia, the two major landmasses formed from the previous supercontinent, drifted apart, creating new coastlines and oceanic circulations. This facilitated new climatic patterns, with generally warmer, more humid conditions in many regions. Vast coniferous forests stretched broadly, providing shelter and resources for burgeoning dinosaur populations. These climatic shifts supported the rise of immense sauropods and diverse predatory theropods, alongside the flourishing of pterosaurs taking to the skies and early mammals beginning their quiet evolutionary journeys. Ocean ecosystems also became richly diverse, hosting adaptations to newly formed marine niches. Finally, entering the Cretaceous period, the last segment of the Mesozoic, Earth's environment was marked by even more complexity. By this time, continents had further separated, forming recognizable shapes akin to those we see today, though still different in many respects. The climate was generally warm, and sea levels were unusually high, flooding many continental interiors and creating large, shallow inland seas that served as hotspots of biological activity. The high sea levels and warm climate supported distinct ecosystems. Flowering plants appeared for the first time, transforming terrestrial habitats by providing new sources of food and interaction for herbivores and pollinators. These plants triggered cascading ecological effects, encouraging diverse adaptations within insect populations and the herbivorous dinosaurs that fed on them. Throughout the Mesozoic, Earth's environments were thus a complex dance between shifting continents, changing seas, fluctuating climates, and evolving life forms. Each factor intertwined to create the backdrop of opportunity and stress, where species flourished, competed, and ultimately sometimes perished. Understanding these dynamic and often volatile environmental conditions is essential. It highlights that extinction is not an isolated event, but rather the result of a mosaic of interconnected factors unfolding over millions of years. As we explore further into how and why specific mass extinction events occurred, keep in mind this evolving stage. The planet's ever-changing environments, climate swings, and geological upheavals that set the conditions for both life's blossoming and its catastrophic declines. Moving forward from this foundational perspective, we will delve deeper into the rise and eventual decline of the dinosaurs within this shifting ancient world, uncovering the biological and environmental narratives that led to their enduring legacy, as well as their mysterious disappearance. As we transition from the ancient and dynamic environments that set the stage for life on Earth, we now turn our focus toward one of the most iconic and fascinating chapters in prehistoric history: the rise and decline of the dinosaurs. Spanning over 160 million years, the story of dinosaurs unfolds across three geological periods: the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous, each defined by drastic environmental changes, evolutionary breakthroughs, and complex ecosystems. Our journey begins in the Triassic period, roughly 252 to 201 million years ago, immediately following the greatest mass extinction in Earth's history, the Permian-Triassic extinction event. This massive die-off wiped out up to 96% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrate species. The aftermath opened ecological niches, leaving vacant habitats and untapped resources. It was into this void that early dinosaurs emerged, initially small and relatively rare, as their ancestors and competitors struggled to recover. The early Triassic was a challenging time. The climate was generally hot and dry, with vast deserts stretching across the supercontinent Pangaea. As the interior of Pangaea was far from the ocean, these arid conditions created a tough environment for many species. Despite this, early dinosaurs exhibited several adaptations that would give them an evolutionary edge. They developed efficient upright limb postures for enhanced mobility and possibly quicker metabolism than their reptilian contemporaries, which allowed them to be agile hunters and survivors in the harsh conditions. During this period, dinosaurs were not the dominant terrestrial animals. Other groups, such as the Rauisuchians, large predatory reptiles, still held sway in many ecosystems. However, by the late Triassic, dinosaurs began to diversify into various forms, including the early ancestors of the giant long-necked sauropods and fearsome theropods. This diversification was facilitated by fluctuating climates and changing ecosystems that favored more adaptable and efficient species. Then came the Triassic-Jurassic boundary, around 201 million years ago, marked by another significant but less understood extinction event. This event saw the decline and disappearance of many large predatory archosaurs, which had been rivals to the dinosaurs. It effectively cleared the path for dinosaurs to rise as the dominant land vertebrates. Volcanic activity, climate change, and disruption of ecosystems during this time contributed to this turnover. With the dawn of the Jurassic period, the dinosaurs' fortunes blossomed. Spanning from about 201 to 145 million years ago, this era witnessed the breakup of Pangaea, the supercontinent, beginning to open oceanic gateways and create varied climates and ecosystems. The Jurassic climate was generally warm and humid, fostering lush vegetation, including vast forests of cycads, conifers, and ferns that provided abundant food resources for herbivorous dinosaurs. This period saw the spectacular diversification and domination of sauropods, long-necked giants like Apatosaurus and Brachiosaurus, who grew to record-breaking sizes, some reaching lengths of over 30 meters. Their enormous bodies demanded vast quantities of plant matter, influencing vegetation patterns and shaping the Jurassic ecosystems profoundly. Alongside them were the carnivorous theropods, which included species like Allosaurus, apex predators that hunted these giants or smaller prey. Further diversity blossomed in other groups, such as the stegosaurs, characterized by their distinctive rows of bony plates and tail spikes, and the early ornithopods, agile herbivores that would later give rise to duck-billed dinosaurs. The skies teemed with pterosaurs, the first vertebrates capable of powered flight, while the oceans hosted a rich assemblage of marine reptiles like plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs. As Pangaea fragmented further and the continents drifted apart, the Jurassic's varied climates facilitated speciation and evolutionary experimentation. Dinosaurs spread progressively across the land masses that would become modern continents, adapting to regional environments and creating distinct faunal assemblages. The next and final act in the dinosaur saga takes place in the Cretaceous period, from approximately 145 to 66 million years ago. This era was marked by high sea levels that flooded large portions of the land, creating shallow inland seas and a complex mosaic of habitats. The climate during much of the Cretaceous was warm, though it showed variability and cooling trends towards the end. Flowering plants, or angiosperms, emerged and began to diversify substantially during this period, transforming terrestrial ecosystems. The rise of these plants had profound implications for herbivorous dinosaurs, providing new and diverse food sources and likely driving evolutionary adaptations in feeding strategies. Throughout the Cretaceous, dinosaur diversity reached its peak. Familiar groups such as the famous Tyrannosaurus rex evolved into colossal predators, dominating many terrestrial ecosystems. The ceratopsians, horned dinosaurs like Triceratops, and hadrosaurs, with their complex dental batteries for processing tough vegetation, flourished alongside sauropods that persisted in some regions. The oceans were home to formidable predators as well, including mosasaurs, massive marine lizards that swam the Cretaceous seas. Pterosaurs continued to fill the skies, though birds, the direct descendants of small theropod dinosaurs, also emerged and began diversifying. However, the Cretaceous was not without its challenges. Volcanic activity, changing sea levels, and shifting climates created periodic environmental stresses. The breakup of continents continued to alter habitats, isolating populations and sometimes reducing genetic diversity. These factors combined to make ecosystems increasingly complex, but also more susceptible to disturbances. As the Cretaceous approached its closing chapters, the stage was set for one of the most dramatic biological turnovers in Earth's history. The dinosaurs, once rising from obscurity in the Triassic, flourishing across all continents through the Jurassic, and reaching evolutionary zenith in the Cretaceous, would soon face a challenge unlike any before. Through these three periods, we witness a remarkable evolutionary journey of adaptation, dominance, and diversification. Dinosaurs became the imprint of the Mesozoic Era, their fossils echoing through time to tell stories of survival, competition, and change. Yet, despite their long and prosperous reign, the processes of decline began well before the final cataclysmic events. In the upcoming sections, we will examine not only the biological and environmental factors contributing to their eventual extinction, but also the broader contexts of mass extinction events that punctuate Earth's history. But before that, it is essential to look beyond dinosaurs to understand the larger prehistoric ecosystems, including marine reptiles, flying reptiles, and the earliest mammals, all coexisting in a world rich with life and complexity. As we delve further into the vast and intricate prehistoric world, it is essential to look beyond the dinosaurs themselves and examine the broader ecosystems in which they lived. The Mesozoic Era was not solely the age of dinosaurs. It was also a time when diverse groups of other remarkable creatures flourished in the skies and seas, and the first whispers of mammals began to emerge. Understanding these ecosystems provides a fuller picture of prehistoric life, the interactions among species, and the environmental pressures that shaped evolutionary paths. Marine ecosystems during the Mesozoic were teeming with life, populated by a myriad of remarkable reptiles adapted to various ecological niches in the oceans. These marine reptiles were not dinosaurs, but occupied analogous roles in aquatic habitats. Among the most notable were the plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, and mosasaurs. Plesiosaurs, characterized by their distinctive long necks and broad paddle-like limbs, navigated the shallow seas from the late Triassic through the end of the Cretaceous. Their long necks presumably aided in stealthily catching fish and other marine prey. Some species possessed shorter necks and larger heads, adapted for different feeding strategies. Their graceful, almost reptilian grace through water symbolized an age when marine reptiles were apex predators. Ichthyosaurs were streamlined, dolphin-like reptiles, exemplifying convergent evolution with modern marine mammals. They thrived especially in the Jurassic, with eyes among the largest in the animal kingdom, indicating their adaptations to deep or murky waters. Ichthyosaurs bore live young, a direct adaptation to life in the ocean, and fed on fish and squid-like creatures, playing a critical role as fast-swimming predators. Mosasaurs emerged later, predominantly dominating the Cretaceous marine environment. These sprawling, powerful marine lizards were close relatives of modern monitor lizards and snakes. Mosasaurs grew to colossal sizes, rivaling today's largest sharks, and were formidable predators, with robust jaws and sharp teeth that could crush shelled prey and hunt other large animals. Their rise coincided with the diversification of other marine fauna, illustrating the dynamic nature of ocean ecosystems. In the skies, flying reptiles known as pterosaurs stretched their membranous wings, making the Mesozoic the dawn of vertebrate flight. Pterosaurs ranged in size from small sparrow-like creatures to giants with wingspans exceeding 10 meters. Their success was linked to their varied feeding habits. Some were fish eaters skimming the ocean's surface, others scavengers, and some capable of powerful flight over land. Unlike birds, which would evolve from small theropod dinosaurs, pterosaurs had unique skeletal structures, with elongated fourth fingers supporting their wing membranes. The fossil record shows intriguing diversity, including species equipped with elaborate crests and specialized teeth, indicating complex behaviors and ecological roles. Their decline near the end of the Cretaceous, coinciding with dinosaur extinction, marked the loss of these pioneering flyers. Amid these dominant reptiles, the early mammals quietly began their evolutionary journey. Originating in the late Triassic, mammals were initially small, nocturnal creatures that occupied ecological niches that avoided direct competition with dinosaurs and other reptiles. Their modest size and secretive habits possibly allowed them to survive fluctuations that larger species could not. Early mammals were diverse in form and behavior, ranging from insectivorous species to primitive herbivores and omnivores. Though often overshadowed by the giant reptiles, mammals laid the groundwork for future evolutionary radiations. Many early mammals possessed advanced dentition and differentiated teeth, which supported varied diets and hinted at increasingly complex lifestyles. Together, these groups, marine reptiles ruling the oceans, pterosaurs commanding the skies, and mammals beginning their quiet rise on land, formed intricate ecosystems full of interdependence, competition, and survival strategies. Flora of the Mesozoic, including cycads, ferns, conifers, and later flowering plants, provided habitats and nutrition, influencing animal behavior and evolution. Understanding this full ecosystem context allows us to comprehend the complexity and vulnerability of prehistoric life. These diverse creatures did not exist in isolation. Their fates and interactions were deeply tied to environmental pressures such as climate change, shifts in sea levels, and volcanic activity that reshaped habitats across millions of years. As we proceed, this broader view will help illuminate how the interconnected nature of prehistoric ecosystems factored into the mass extinction events that dramatically reshuffled life on Earth. It is within this dynamic backdrop of triumph and tragedy that the story of prehistoric extinctions continues to unfold. As we deepen our exploration into the ancient world and the myriad of life forms that once roamed Earth, it becomes clear that this history is marked not only by origins and evolutions, but also by endings, sometimes sudden, earth-shattering endings known as mass extinction events. To fully grasp the story of how dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals died out, we must first understand what mass extinction events are, their causes, and the profound role they have played in shaping the course of life on our planet. Mass extinction events are episodes in Earth's history when an exceptionally large number of species vanish in a relatively short geological time frame. Unlike the background rate of extinction, a natural and ongoing process where species gradually disappear. Mass extinctions abruptly and dramatically reduce global biodiversity. These events affect a wide range of organisms across multiple habitats, causing ripple effects that transform ecosystems and reset evolutionary trajectories. Scientists recognize 5 major mass extinction events in Earth's deep past, often referred to as the Big Five. These include the Late Ordovician, around 843 million years ago, Late Devonian, approximately 360 million years ago, the Late Permian or Permian-Triassic extinction, about 252 million years ago, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, around 201 million years ago, and the well-known Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction, roughly 66 million years ago. Each event varied in severity, duration, and causal mechanisms, yet all share the hallmark of profound, planet-wide biological upheaval. Explaining why mass extinctions happen requires examining multiple overlapping natural phenomena, many of which can act in concert to dramatically stress life. One of the leading causes implicated in these events is catastrophic environmental change. Large-scale volcanic eruptions release enormous quantities of gases, such as carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide. These can trigger greenhouse effects, leading to global warming, or can cause acid rain and atmospheric cooling by injecting aerosols and particulates into the stratosphere, blocking sunlight, a complex interplay that disrupts climate stability and habitats. Another principal driver comes from astronomical events. Massive asteroid or comet impacts can release kinetic energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs, vaporizing large areas, igniting widespread wildfires, sending dust and soot into the atmosphere, and causing impact winters that drastically reduce sunlight reaching Earth's surface, curtailing photosynthesis and collapsing food chains. Shifting tectonic plates and continental drift play a critical, longer-term role by rearranging habitats, altering ocean circulation, and changing climate patterns. These gradual processes sometimes set the stage for extinction events by creating environmental stresses that push ecosystems to the brink. Sea level fluctuations, whether due to glaciations or tectonics, can reduce shallow marine habitats, a hotspot for biodiversity, causing cascading extinctions among marine species. The reduction of these habitats can be particularly catastrophic because the oceans are Earth's largest ecosystems and fundamental to nutrient cycling. Biological factors also contribute. The evolution of certain species can disrupt existing ecological balance, leading to competition, predation, and extinction of more specialized or less adaptable species. Moreover, infectious diseases and invasive species can spread rapidly in vulnerable ecosystems, amplifying mortality during stressed times. Mass extinctions are not simply about the loss of species. They represent profound restructurings of life's diversity and ecological networks. The aftermath of these events often opens ecological niches, allowing for the emergence and radiation of new groups. For example, the Permian-Triassic extinction nearly wiped out all marine life, and ahead of it, land vertebrates faced massive losses. But in its wake, new evolutionary opportunities arose, eventually leading to the dominance of dinosaurs in the Mesozoic. The Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction, famously associated with the demise of non-avian dinosaurs, was a pivotal event that cleared the path for mammals and birds to diversify and flourish. Without such mass die-offs, the incredible diversity of modern life we see today might never have unfolded. Understanding mass extinction events also teaches us about resilience and vulnerability in living systems. Species that survived these cataclysms often possessed traits like ecological flexibility, broad diets, or the ability to endure stressful conditions. Such knowledge informs current conservation efforts, as modern biodiversity faces unprecedented threats. As we proceed into the details of specific mass extinctions that shaped the prehistoric world, we must keep in mind this overarching framework. Mass extinctions are extraordinary but natural phenomena resulting from the complex interplay of Earth's geology, climate, celestial events, and biology. They are chapters in life's story, not only of destruction, but of renewal, continually influencing the ever-changing saga of life on Earth. To truly comprehend the scale and consequence of Earth's prehistoric mass extinctions, we must begin with the most catastrophic and devastating event known in our planet's history: the late Permian extinction, often called the Great Dying. Occurring approximately 252 million years ago at the close of the Permian period, this extinction event, dwarfing all others in severity, set in motion profound biological and environmental changes that shaped life's future for millions of years. The Great Dying saw the loss of an estimated 90 to 96% of all marine species and around 70 to 75% of terrestrial vertebrate species. It marked the end of the Paleozoic Era and ushered in the Mesozoic Era, often referred to as the Age of Reptiles, and subsequently the Age of Dinosaurs. Yet, this extinction was no simple die-off. It was a multifaceted catastrophe whose causes, mechanisms, and aftermath continue to be the subject of extensive scientific research and intrigue. Before the extinction, Earth's environments were undergoing significant and complex changes. The supercontinent Pangaea had formed, uniting nearly all the world's landmasses into a colossal landmass surrounded by a vast global ocean known as Panthalassa. This configuration affected climate patterns profoundly. Large interior regions of Pangaea were often arid and subjected to extreme temperature fluctuations between day and night due to their distance from the ocean's moderating influences. The late Permian was also a time of volatile volcanic activity. The Siberian Traps, one of the largest known volcanic provinces on Earth, were undergoing massive and prolonged eruptions, spewing huge volumes of lava and releasing vast quantities of gases like carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. This had far-reaching consequences for Earth's climate system. One prevalent theory suggests that the sulfur dioxide released led to acid rain that devastated terrestrial and marine ecosystems alike, while increased greenhouse gases caused rapid global warming. Temperature spikes on land and in the oceans created inhospitable conditions for many species. Ocean anoxia, depletion of oxygen in marine waters, became widespread, suffocating marine life and disrupting food chains. Adding to the crisis was the possibility that methane hydrates stored in marine sediments were destabilized by warming oceans, releasing vast amounts of methane, a potent greenhouse gas which further amplified global temperatures in a runaway feedback loop. The extinction affected all levels of the marine food web. Reef-building organisms, such as corals and sponges, suffered a catastrophic collapse, erasing entire reef ecosystems that had thrived for millions of years. Many species of brachiopods, ammonites, trilobites, and various bivalves either disappeared entirely or were reduced to near extinction. On land, ecosystems saw a sharp decline in diversity. The dominant synapsid mammal-like reptiles, which had been the apex terrestrial animals for millions of years, largely vanished. Many large amphibians and other groups suffered severe losses. The terrestrial biomes were devastated, and vegetation censuses show evidence for a collapse of forests and widespread die-off of land plants, which in turn affected herbivorous species. This ecological collapse created a massive biological vacuum. For tens of millions of years afterward, ecosystems remained relatively impoverished and simple. Recovery was slow and punctuated by additional smaller pulses of extinctions and environmental stress. Yet, from this devastation emerged the evolutionary roots of the Mesozoic Era. the extinction opened niches that allowed certain groups, such as early archosaurs, the ancestors of crocodiles, pterosaurs, and dinosaurs, to diversify and gradually dominate terrestrial ecosystems. It was a turning point that forged the pathway for the incredible dominance of dinosaurs and other reptilian groups in subsequent geological periods. In the oceans, the recovery led to new radiations among bony fishes, the first modern corals, and various marine reptiles. The evolutionary arms race resumed with renewed vigor, but on a reshaped and rapidly evolving Earth. The Great Dying remains a stark illustration of how interconnected Earth's systems, volcanism, climate, ocean chemistry, and life, can interact with catastrophic consequences. It is a reminder that mass extinctions are complex events driven by multifarious forces rather than a singular cause. As we continue our journey to unravel the history of prehistoric extinctions, the late Permian extinction stands as a testament to the fragility and resilience of life. A cataclysmic episode that reshaped the rules of survival and evolution, setting the stage for the rise of the dinosaurs and the workings of Earth's biosphere for millions of years to come. As we move forward from the aftermath of the late Permian extinction, we arrive at another pivotal moment in Earth's deep history, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event, which occurred approximately 201 million years ago. This event, though less massive than the Great Dying, was no less significant in its consequences. It cleared the ecological stage in a way that allowed dinosaurs, which had until then been relatively minor players, to seize dominance and shape the course of life for the next 135 million years. To understand how dinosaurs rose to such heights, we must first examine the dynamics of the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, the causes behind it, and the profound shifts in biodiversity it precipitated. The Triassic period, spanning roughly 252 to 201 million years ago, was a time of recovery and diversification following the catastrophic Permian extinction. During much of this period, dinosaurs were present but largely overshadowed by other groups, especially archosaurs known as crurotarsans, crocodile-line relatives that occupied many large predatory and herbivorous niches. These dominant reptiles, alongside large amphibians and synapsids, formed complex terrestrial communities. However, the late Triassic was also a period marked by intensifying tectonic and volcanic activity. The supercontinent Pangaea was fracturing, triggering massive volcanic eruptions in what we now call the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, CAMP. This volcanic episode released enormous volumes of gases such as carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, precipitating environmental upheavals. The cooling and warming pulses, acid rain, and ocean acidification associated with these eruptions dramatically altered ecosystems on land and in the sea. The Triassic-Jurassic extinction event resulted in the loss of approximately 50% of marine genera and a substantial portion of terrestrial species. Many groups that had thrived in the Triassic disappeared or were severely diminished. Among the hardest hit were many crurotarsans, which included large, crocodile-like predators competing with early dinosaurs for resources. The vast majority of large, herbivorous and carnivorous competitors were wiped out or restricted in range and diversity. This extinction event also affected marine life profoundly, with significant declines in ammonites, bivalves, and reef-building organisms, echoing disruptions seen in previous mass extinctions. Changes in ocean chemistry and temperature contributed to these losses, exacerbated by runaway greenhouse effects from volcanic emissions. Crucially, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event wiped the slate clean of many ecological competitors of dinosaurs. The disappearance of large, dominant archosaurs and some mammal-like reptiles created numerous vacant ecological niches. This ecological vacuum presented an unprecedented opportunity for the dinosaurs, which evolved traits that allowed them to adapt and flourish in the new environmental conditions. Early dinosaurs displayed a combination of bipedal locomotion, efficient respiratory systems, and diverse diets. These features, combined with their small to medium size during this period, afforded them advantages in mobility and resource utilization. As competitors vanished, dinosaurs diversified rapidly into various forms, from swift carnivorous theropods to herbivorous prosauropods, setting the stage for the dominance that would continue through the Jurassic and Cretaceous. Following the extinction, the Jurassic period opened as a world transformed, not only geologically but biologically. Dinosaurs were no longer marginal components of ecosystems. They became the primary terrestrial vertebrates, occupying roles as apex predators, massive herbivores, and everything in between. Their expansion reshaped terrestrial ecosystems, influencing plant communities, predator-prey relationships, and even atmospheric dynamics through their biological activities. The extinction and subsequent biological turnover serve as a remarkable example of how mass die-offs, while devastating, can trigger evolutionary opportunities and innovation. The fall of dinosaur competitors and the rise of dinosaurs themselves encapsulate the cyclical nature of life, where destruction paves the way for renewal and dominance by new players. As we move beyond this event, we'll explore in greater detail the geological processes and environmental shifts that accompanied and possibly drove such extinctions. Understanding the complex interplay between Earth's dynamic systems and life's resilience is key to unraveling the mysteries of prehistoric extinctions and their lasting legacies. As we continue our exploration of the forces that shaped prehistoric life and influenced the dramatic extinction events, it is essential to understand the profound impact of Earth's environmental changes, particularly those driven by tectonic activity and volcanism. These geophysical processes played a central role in crafting the landscapes, climates, and ultimately the biological destinies of the creatures that once roamed the planet. The Earth's lithosphere, the rigid outer layer comprising the crust and upper mantle, is divided into several tectonic plates that continually move, diverge, converge, and slide past one another. This process, known as plate tectonics, operates at a glacial pace measured in centimeters per year, but has monumental consequences over millions of years. The drifting and reshaping of continents, the formation of mountains and ocean basins, and the opening and closing of seaways all stem from these movements. Throughout the Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras, the rearrangement of Earth's land masses via continental drift fundamentally altered habitats and climate. For example, the assembly of the supercontinent Pangaea during the late Paleozoic resulted in vast, arid continental interiors where extremes of temperature prevailed. This immense landmass reduced coastlines, limiting shallow marine habitats critical for diverse marine life. Conversely, the gradual breakup of Pangaea that began during the Triassic and accelerated through the Jurassic and Cretaceous created new ocean gateways and fragmented continents. This fragmentation increased coastal areas and inland seas, generating diverse climate zones and ecological niches. The dispersal of land masses also affected ocean currents and atmospheric circulation, which in turn influenced global climate patterns. The effects of continental drift extend beyond shaping geography. They directly impact evolutionary processes. The isolation of land masses leads to biogeographic differentiation. Populations separated by oceans or mountain ranges experience genetic divergence, fostering speciation. This tectonic-driven isolation created the distinct dinosaur faunas observed across present-day continents in the Mesozoic fossil record. Volcanism, closely tied to tectonic activity, was another decisive factor influencing prehistoric environments. Large volcanic provinces, such as the Siberian Traps at the end of the Permian and the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province at the Triassic-Jurassic boundary, released staggering volumes of lava and gases into the atmosphere over prolonged periods. Volcanic eruptions emit greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane, which increase global temperatures, and sulfur dioxide, which can cause acid rain and reflect sunlight, leading to short-term cooling. These fluctuations can destabilize climates, disrupt photosynthesis, and poison ecosystems through acidification and toxic aerosols. The rapid and voluminous nature of flood basalt eruptions is particularly insidious because they can sustain environmental stress for thousands to millions of years. Prolonged volcanic activity can trigger cycles of warming and cooling, ocean acidification, and anoxia, oxygen-depleted conditions, each detrimental to global biodiversity. For instance, the Deccan Traps in present-day India, which erupted near the end of the Cretaceous, are considered a significant contributing factor to the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event, which famously ended the reign of non-avian dinosaurs. These massive volcanic flows released carbon dioxide, sulfur compounds, and particulates, exacerbating climate stress and environmental degradation. The interplay between tectonics and volcanism thus sets the stage for some of Earth's most profound biological turnovers. Shifts in geography alter migration routes, isolate populations, and modify habitats, while volcanic episodes can deliver climatic shocks, sometimes triggering or amplifying extinction events. Understanding these processes reveals the extraordinary complexity underlying mass extinctions. Rather than single sudden causes, many extinction events appear as the culmination of multiple factors cascading over extended periods, with tectonic and volcanic forces often serving as critical drivers. As life on Earth reacted to these forces, evolving, migrating, or disappearing, the dynamic planet crafted a continuous narrative of challenge and adaptation. This insight provides essential context for the mass extinction stories we will examine next, as we see how Earth's restless geology has persistently shaped and sometimes rewritten the history of life itself. Building upon the fundamental roles of continental drift and volcanism, we now turn our attention to another key driver that has molded Earth's prehistoric biosphere: climate change. From the icy expanses of ancient glaciations to prolonged periods of global warmth, Earth's climate has fluctuated dramatically over geological timescales. These fluctuations not only influenced the distribution of habitats and ecosystems, but also profoundly affected the evolution, survival, and extinction of species, including the magnificent dinosaurs and their contemporaries. Climate change in prehistoric times operated through complex interactions involving atmospheric chemistry, solar radiation, ocean currents, and geological activity. Unlike the relatively stable Holocene epoch that humans have inhabited, deep time reveals dramatic swings between ice ages and greenhouse conditions that reshaped landscapes and biological communities. One of the earliest known and most significant climate events was the late Ordovician glaciation, around 400 to 45 million years ago. Massive ice sheets covered portions of the southern supercontinent Gondwana, leading to a global drop in sea levels. This glaciation triggered one of the earliest mass extinctions by severely impacting marine habitats. The extinction serves as a pattern for understanding how ice ages can compress ecosystems, alter ocean chemistry, and trigger biodiversity losses. Fast forward to the Carboniferous and Permian periods, approximately 360 to 250 million years ago, when Earth experienced fluctuating climates that included periods of intense glaciations in Gondwana. These ice ages shaped the evolution of terrestrial ecosystems. The alternations between cold and warm phases created habitats ranging from tropical wetlands to snow-covered highlands, challenging plants and animals to adapt or migrate. The sedimentary deposits from this time, including coal-forming swamps, record these dynamic conditions. In contrast, much of the Mesozoic Era, the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods, was dominated by a greenhouse climate lacking polar ice caps. Global temperatures were warmer and more equable, with tropical conditions extending toward higher latitudes than today. This warmth contributed to lush vegetation, extensive shallow seas, and expanded habitats that supported the proliferation of dinosaurs, marine reptiles, and early mammals. Despite the general warmth, evidence from geochemical proxies and fossil assemblages indicates that several periods experienced climate fluctuations, including transient cooling events, volcanic winters, and warming pulses. For example, the Triassic-Jurassic boundary was associated with significant warming, likely linked to volcanic activity in the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province. This warming, coupled with elevated carbon dioxide, exacerbated environmental stress, contributing to the extinction of many competitors and facilitating dinosaur dominance. Similarly, the late Cretaceous saw fluctuations in sea level and climate shifts that influenced vegetation patterns and faunal distributions. Towards the end of the period, cooling trends began to set in, possibly linked with volcanic emissions and changes in oceanic circulation. The interplay between climate and habitats was a dynamic feedback system. Changing temperatures and precipitation patterns reorganized ecosystems, shifting forests, deserts, and wetlands across continents. These habitat changes forced species to migrate, adapt, or face extinction. Species with narrow climatic tolerances or specialized diets were particularly vulnerable during oscillations. Moreover, glacial and interglacial cycles, especially in later periods like the Pleistocene, imposed rhythmic challenges that shaped evolutionary trajectories. Ice ages expanded polar ice, lowering sea levels and creating land bridges, facilitating migration and diversification. Conversely, glacial maxima could fragment populations, increasing genetic isolation. These climatic upheavals had cascading effects on food webs and ecological interactions. Plants responded to temperature changes by migrating latitudinally or altitudinally, consequently altering the availability and distribution of food for herbivores. Predators in turn followed their prey, resulting in dynamic shifts in community structures. Understanding prehistoric climate change also uncovers lessons on resilience and vulnerability. Some species developed physiological and behavioral adaptations such as hibernation, metabolic flexibility, or dietary generalism, enabling survival amid disturbance. Others, unable to cope with rapid fluctuations or habitat loss, declined or vanished entirely. In sum, Earth's prehistoric climate was a restless and powerful force, shaping biological diversity. From icy glacial periods to sweltering greenhouse intervals, shifts in climate continuously remodeled habitats and ecosystems, setting the stage for both evolutionary innovation and extinction. As we investigate specific extinction events and their aftermaths, appreciating these climatic contexts will help illuminate why certain species thrived while others succumbed, and how life on Earth has persevered through an ever-changing world. In the complex tapestry of life's history, extinction events are rarely dictated by a single factor. Beyond cataclysmic geological or astronomical events, the interplay of biological relationships, predation, competition, and evolutionary pressures has profoundly influenced which species survive and which fade into oblivion. Understanding these biological dynamics is essential to grasp how prehistoric animals, including the dinosaurs, faced extinction amid both gradual and sudden environmental changes. Predation is one of the most fundamental ecological interactions that shapes species survival and evolution. Predators exert direct pressure on prey populations by hunting and consuming individuals, thus influencing behaviors, population sizes, and community structures. Throughout the prehistoric eras, the arms race between predators and prey led to remarkable adaptations. Prey species evolved defensive mechanisms such as armor, camouflage, and agility, while predators developed enhanced senses, speed, and strategies for capturing food. However, intense predation can contribute to extinction vulnerabilities, especially when prey species are already stressed by environmental changes or habitat loss. A sudden increase in predator efficiency or numbers, perhaps due to the disappearance of competing predators or changes in habitat, can push populations beyond sustainable thresholds. In some cases, newly evolved predators outcompeted older, specialized carnivores, reshaping the food web and driving extinctions. Competition between species, both within similar ecological niches and across diverging ones, is another vital evolutionary pressure. Limited resources such as food, water, or nesting areas mean species must vie for survival. This competition can lead to adaptive radiation, where species diversify to exploit different niches, or competitive exclusion, where weaker competitors decline or disappear. In prehistoric times, particularly during periods of environmental instability, competition intensified. Changing climates, shifting habitats, and mass die-offs reduced available resources, heightening rivalry among species. For example, during the rise of dinosaurs, they competed with established reptilian groups like pseudosuchians and large amphibians. The eventual dominance of dinosaurs was partly due to competitive advantages such as efficient locomotion, metabolic flexibility, and reproductive strategies. But competition could also serve as a double-edged sword. Highly specialized species excelled in stable environments, but became vulnerable when conditions shifted. Their narrow diets, specific habitats, or limited ranges diminished their ability to cope with rapid change, leading to declines or extinctions when new competitors or predators arose, or when resources became scarce. Evolutionary pressures encompass a broader spectrum, including natural selection, sexual selection, and genetic drift. Over millions of years, species continuously adapt to their environments through incremental changes, some beneficial, others detrimental. In some scenarios, evolutionary dead ends may form, where species become so specialized that they cannot adjust to shifting conditions. These evolutionary cul-de-sacs often presage extinction. Moreover, the introduction or evolution of new traits can radically alter ecosystem dynamics. The advent of feathers in theropod dinosaurs, for example, eventually led to powered flight and the rise of birds, opening aerial niches. Similarly, the evolution of size, intelligence, or reproductive strategies impacted survival and extinction risks. Indeed, evolutionary pressures often amplify effects of environmental stressors. For instance, species with slower reproductive rates may be unable to recover from population declines caused by climate shifts or habitat fragmentation. Conversely, species with adaptable diets and behaviors tend to fare better during crises. The fossil record offers numerous examples where predation, competition, and evolutionary forces intertwined with environmental upheaval to drive extinctions. At the end of the Permian, newly emerging predators may have hastened the decline of older lineages already weakened by volcanism and climate change. During the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, dinosaurs' evolutionary innovations afforded them advantages over competitors. These biological interactions reveal that extinction is not simply about environmental catastrophe, but also about the intricate web of life relationships, who eats whom, who competes fiercely, and who is capable of change. It is within this dynamic interplay that many mass extinctions took shape, underscoring that life's survival is a delicate balance influenced by both external forces and internal ecological drama. As we further explore the vulnerabilities of ecosystems leading into the great extinction events, recognizing these evolutionary pressures enriches our understanding of why some species vanished and others endured. It also highlights the profound resilience, adaptability, and complexity of life on Earth across epochs of dramatic change. As we arrive at the Cretaceous period, the final chapter of the Mesozoic Era spanning from roughly 145 to 66 million years ago, we enter a world of vibrant ecological flourishing and complex interdependencies. This era stands as a pinnacle of prehistoric diversity, showcasing astonishing evolutionary innovations alongside underlying vulnerabilities that would ultimately contribute to one of the most famous mass extinctions in Earth's history. The Cretaceous ecosystem was marked by dynamic and varied environments. Continental drift had progressed significantly, fragmenting the previously connected supercontinents into more recognizable land masses positioned closer to modern-day configurations. This tectonic activity created extensive coastlines, shallow seas, and inland seaways such as the Western Interior Seaway in North America. These marine transgressions enriched habitats and enabled the proliferation of diverse aquatic life. Climatically, the Cretaceous was largely warm and humid, with high levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide sustaining greenhouse conditions. There were no polar ice caps, and ecosystems thrived from equatorial zones toward the poles. Tropical and subtropical forests, dense with conifers, cycads, and the newly emergent flowering plants, or angiosperms, dominated terrestrial landscapes, transforming herbivore diets and feeding behaviors. The appearance and rapid diversification of angiosperms was a crucial ecological innovation, altering food webs and offering new opportunities for insects and herbivorous dinosaurs. The dinosaur clades achieved impressive diversity and specialization during the Cretaceous. Massive sauropods, once widespread, began to recede in some areas but remained dominant in others. Ornithischians such as ceratopsians, horned dinosaurs like Triceratops, and hadrosaurs, duck-billed dinosaurs, specialized in diverse feeding strategies with complex dental adaptations, illustrating evolutionary advances in herbivory. Theropods, including the formidable Tyrannosaurus rex and the agile dromaeosaurs, were apex predators, shaping prey populations and interspecies competition. Marine ecosystems reciprocated this diversity with flourishing ammonites, belemnites, fish, sharks, and marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs navigating the vast Cretaceous seas. Coral reefs expanded, supporting rich assemblages of invertebrates and fishes, while planktonic organisms played fundamental roles in oceanic food chains. Despite this flourishing, the period was not without its vulnerabilities. The extensive shallow inland seas, while promoting diversity, were susceptible to fluctuations in sea levels driven by tectonics and climate. Such changes could fragment habitats, isolate populations, or eliminate critical breeding grounds, placing stress on species unable to adapt quickly. Moreover, rising volcanic activity toward the late Cretaceous, particularly events like the Deccan Traps eruptions, introduced environmental challenges through the release of greenhouse gases and toxic aerosols. Ecological complexity itself can breed vulnerability. Specialized species adapted to narrow food sources or specific habitats face higher extinction risks when conditions change abruptly. During the Cretaceous, many dinosaur species evolved elaborate ornamental structures, horns, crests, feathers, for display or species recognition, traits that, while advantageous under stable conditions, may have reduced adaptability in rapidly shifting environments. Furthermore, interconnected food webs meant that disruptions to one group cascaded through the ecosystem. For example, declines in certain plant species owing to climate or volcanic influences could reduce herbivore populations, consequently affecting predator numbers. The reliance on specific ecological interactions sometimes rendered entire assemblages fragile in the face of environmental stressors. As the Cretaceous period progressed, incremental climatic cooling and changes in ocean circulation patterns further complicated the ecological balance. Ice caps began to form, and sea levels fluctuated. These shifts exacerbated habitat fragmentation and resource stress. In essence, the Cretaceous period was a time of remarkable evolutionary achievement, coupled with the seeds of ecological instability. Its diverse ecosystems exemplified life's ability to innovate and adapt, but also highlighted the inherent vulnerability of complex systems. This delicate balance reached its breaking point approximately 66 million years ago with the onset of the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event. In the following chapters, we will explore the catastrophic factors, including the famed asteroid impact and colossal volcanic activity that precipitated the end of this thriving age. But before that, we must appreciate the intricate and vibrant world that existed, setting the poignant backdrop for one of the most dramatic extinction narratives in Earth's history. As the tapestry of the Cretaceous ecosystem reached its vibrant zenith, an extraordinary and abrupt event occurred that would forever alter the course of Earth's biological history: the impact of a colossal asteroid. This event, now known as the Chicxulub impact, stands as one of the most compelling and extensively studied explanations for the mass extinction that marked the close of the Cretaceous period approximately 66 million years ago. To understand how this cosmic collision contributed to the demise of non-avian dinosaurs and countless other species, we must delve into the discoveries, evidence, and scientific investigations that brought the asteroid impact theory to prominence. Before the 1980s, the precise cause of the Cretaceous-Paleogene (KPG) mass extinction remained a subject of intense debate among scientists. While massive volcanic activity, climate change, and sea level fluctuations were recognized contributors to environmental stress during this period, none fully explained the suddenness and global extent of species losses. This changed dramatically with the seminal work of Luis Alvarez, his son Walter Alvarez, and colleagues in 1980. In a detailed study of sediment layers at the KPG boundary in Italy, the team discovered an anomalously high concentration of the rare element iridium, over 30 times more abundant than typical crustal levels. Iridium is uncommon on Earth's surface but more prevalent in asteroids and comets. This unexpected spike suggested that extraterrestrial material had settled worldwide within a narrow geological interval, hinting at a cataclysmic event. Following this clue, intense global searching led to the identification of a massive impact crater beneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The geological structure, named the Chicxulub crater after a nearby town, measures roughly 150 kilometers in diameter, making it one of the largest confirmed impact structures on Earth. Radiometric dating confirmed the crater formed approximately 66 million years ago, precisely coinciding with the timing of the mass extinction event. The crater's size indicates the impacting body was an asteroid or comet, roughly 10 to 15 kilometers wide, striking Earth at tens of kilometers per second, releasing energy estimated to be billions of times that of the most powerful human-made nuclear weapon. The geological features of the Chicxulub site reveal the devastating mechanics of the impact. Shocked quartz grains and microscopic spherules of glass formed by molten rock, vaporized by the immense heat, are found embedded in sediment layers worldwide, products of the impact's force. The event would have vaporized rock, ejected enormous volumes of debris into the atmosphere, and generated massive tsunamis affecting coastlines thousands of kilometers away. This sudden injection of dust and aerosols into the stratosphere is theorized to have blocked sunlight for months or even years, triggering an. Following the monumental collision of the asteroid that carved the Chicxulub crater, Earth was plunged into a series of profound and cascading environmental catastrophes that defined the immediate aftermath of this devastating event. These rapid and severe changes, collectively responsible for what scientists call the impact winter, played a pivotal role in triggering the mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous, wiping out nearly 75% of Earth's species, including the non-avian dinosaurs. When the asteroid slammed into Earth with the force of billions of nuclear bombs, it instantly vaporized the impact site rock and sent towering columns of molten debris hurtling into the atmosphere. This material rained down over vast distances, igniting widespread wildfires that engulfed forests across continents. The resulting firestorms were not localized blazes, but rather a global phenomenon, with countless hectares of vegetation converted to ash and carbon, releasing colossal amounts of soot and aerosols into the upper atmosphere. With so much particulate matter suspended in the stratosphere, sunlight was dramatically reduced, an effect akin to a prolonged, severe volcanic winter, but on an unprecedented scale. Temperatures plummeted as solar radiation was blocked, halting photosynthesis in plants and phytoplankton, which underpin the foundation of both terrestrial and marine food chains. This impact winter could have lasted for several months to years, causing extreme cold and darkness across much of the planet. The sudden loss of sunlight crippled ecosystems worldwide. Plants withered or died outright, leading to starvation and collapse among herbivorous animals. Carnivores, dependent on these herbivores, faced cascading food shortages. In oceans, phytoplankton populations crashed, undermining marine productivity and resulting in the extinction or severe decline of many marine species. In addition to the cooling and darkness, the released gases had profound effects on the atmosphere's chemistry. Sulfur dioxide, ejected from both the vaporized impact site and pre-existing volcanic eruptions such as the Deccan Traps eruption sequence occurring around the same time, combined with water vapor in the atmosphere to form sulfuric acid aerosols. These aerosols not only contributed to further sunlight reflection and cooling, but also produced acid rain. Acid rain devastated freshwater ecosystems and terrestrial vegetation, altering soil chemistry and exacerbating ecological stresses. The global scale of this environmental disruption was staggering. Tsunamis generated by the impact raced across oceans, reshaping coastlines and destroying shallow marine habitats vital for many species. The combination of shockwave-driven wildfires, atmospheric dust and soot, acid rain, and oceanic anoxia created a hostile biosphere where survival became a monumental challenge. However, while initially catastrophic, these conditions were not permanently static. Following the dust and aerosols gradually settling out of the atmosphere, Earth eventually experienced a phase of warming. The large amounts of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide and methane, released from both the impact's vaporized rock and volcanic activity, led to a greenhouse pulse. This warming phase may have further stressed ecological recovery by promoting ocean stratification and low oxygen zones, compounding marine extinctions. The immediate aftermath of the Chicxulub impact thus set in motion a chain of environmental disasters that reshaped life itself, eradicating dominant groups like non-avian dinosaurs and freeing ecological niches for mammals and birds, whom we recognize today as the inheritors of terrestrial ecosystems. Understanding this sequence of events, the impact winter, global firestorms, atmospheric alterations, and eventual greenhouse warming, illuminates how a single cosmic event can ripple through Earth's delicate environmental balance with devastating consequences. It also underscores the extraordinary resilience of life, as ecosystems adapted and evolved anew in the profound aftermath of catastrophe. As we delve deeper into the complexities of this extinction event, in the following sections we will explore the parallel role of volcanic activity, particularly the Deccan Traps eruptions, and how their interplay with the asteroid impact composed a multifaceted catastrophe that sealed the fate of many prehistoric species. Alongside the catastrophic asteroid impact near the end of the Cretaceous, another formidable geologic force played a significant role in shaping Earth's environment and its life during this pivotal time: the colossal volcanic eruptions known as the Deccan Traps. Located in present-day India, the Deccan Traps represent one of the largest volcanic provinces in Earth's history, with lava flows covering an area exceeding 500,000 square kilometers and a volume possibly over 1 million cubic kilometers. Their timing, scale, and ecological effects intertwine intricately with the mass extinction event that dramatically reshaped global biodiversity. The Deccan Traps eruptions began around 66 million years ago, coinciding closely with the Chicxulub impact, though their activity spanned hundreds of thousands to possibly over 1 million years, both before and after the asteroid collision. The massive outpouring of basaltic lava occurred in multiple pulses or stages, each releasing prodigious quantities of gases and particulates that had major consequences for climate and life. Volcanic eruptions, such as those forming the Deccan Traps, emit enormous amounts of carbon dioxide, CO2, sulfur dioxide, SO2, water vapor, and other gases. CO2 is a powerful greenhouse gas that traps heat in the atmosphere, potentially driving global warming over long time frames. Conversely, SO2 combines with atmospheric moisture to form sulfuric acid aerosols, which reflect solar radiation back into space, cooling the Earth's surface in the short term, a duality that injects complexity into the climate effects. The initial pulses of Deccan volcanism likely introduced severe environmental stresses. Sudden releases of sulfur aerosols could have triggered significant short-term cooling, disruptions in precipitation patterns, and episodes of acid rain. Acid rain, in particular, would have impacted terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems alike, acidifying soils and waterways, stressing or killing sensitive plant species and aquatic organisms. Sustained emissions of greenhouse gases from repeated eruptions would have contributed to longer-term warming trends, disrupting temperature gradients and atmospheric circulation patterns. These oscillations between cooling and warming phases created climatic instability that challenged the resilience of ecosystems across the globe. Ecologically, the Deccan Traps effects likely exacerbated environmental pressures already imposed by the asteroid impact. The combined influence of these catastrophes may have overwhelmed the adaptive capacities of many species, contributing particularly to the collapse of sensitive marine and terrestrial communities. Fossil records and geochemical proxies reveal evidence of environmental stress coinciding with phases of Deccan activity. Shifts in carbon isotope ratios indicating disturbances in global carbon cycling, declines in plankton diversity, which formed the base of marine food webs, and changes in vegetation patterns reflecting habitat disruption on land. Research continues to explore the relative contributions of the Deccan Traps volcanism versus the asteroid impact in driving the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction. Some hypotheses propose that the prolonged volcanism weakened ecosystems over hundreds of thousands of years, setting the stage for the asteroid impact to deliver the final blow. Others view the two phenomena as overlapping but distinct drivers working in tandem. What remains clear is that extensive volcanism plays a crucial role in triggering and modulating Earth's mass extinction events. By altering atmosphere and climate, releasing toxic gases, and changing habitats, the Deccan Traps eruptions illustrate how internal geologic processes can engender planetary-wide environmental crises. As we move forward, understanding the myriad effects of volcanism during prehistoric times broadens our perspective on the complex interplay of factors underlying extinction events. It emphasizes that Earth's history is shaped by multifaceted interactions between celestial collisions, internal geological forces, and the delicate web of life struggling to persist through them. In the wake of the Chicxulub asteroid impact and the colossal volcanic eruptions of the Deccan Traps, Earth was subjected to an unparalleled cascade of catastrophic events that reverberated through ecosystems both terrestrial and marine. Among the most consequential of these were towering tsunamis, acid rain, and periods of profound global darkness, phenomena which combined to amplify environmental stress and dramatically alter the planet's delicate balance of life. The tremendous force of the asteroid impact, estimated to be billions of times more powerful than the most potent human-made explosives, displaced vast volumes of water instantaneously. This sudden displacement generated immense tsunamis that radiated outward from the impact zone, traveling across oceans at jetliner speeds. These tsunamis struck coastlines thousands of kilometers away, demolishing coastal ecosystems, reshaping shorelines, and depositing thick layers of sediment and debris. Evidence preserved in sedimentary rock layers around the world attests to these massive waves, including deposits tens of meters thick in some regions. Such tsunamis obliterated shallow marine habitats critical for numerous species, including coral reefs, seagrass beds, and breeding grounds for fishes and invertebrates. The destruction of these habitats compounded stress on marine food webs already disrupted by the impact's atmospheric consequences. Perhaps even more insidious was the effect of acid rain, produced as a consequence of the enormous quantities of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides released during both the impact and volcanic episodes. These gases combined with atmospheric moisture to form sulfuric and nitric acids, precipitating widespread acid rain that devastated vegetation, soils, and freshwater ecosystems globally. This acid rain altered soil chemistry, damaging plant root systems, and curtailing the regrowth of forests and other vegetation vital for terrestrial herbivores. Freshwater ecosystems, including lakes and rivers, home to a diversity of fish, amphibians, and invertebrates, also suffered severe acidification, resulting in massive organism die-offs. The loss of primary producers and consumers in these systems further destabilized food chains, amplifying extinction risks. Compounding these effects was the global darkness brought about by the immense quantities of dust, soot, and aerosols lofted into the stratosphere by both impact ejecta and volcanic emissions. This particulate veil blocked sunlight for months or even years, preventing photosynthesis by plants and marine phytoplankton alike. Without sunlight, primary producers collapsed, cascading upwards through the food web and triggering widespread starvation. The resulting impact winter plunged global temperatures, particularly affecting photosynthesis-dependent organisms. Terrestrial herbivores found themselves without sustenance, predators lost their prey, and marine ecosystems faced similar collapses as planktonic bases diminished. The effects were felt worldwide, underscoring the interconnectedness of Earth's life systems. In some regions, the cessation of sunlight and lowered temperatures would have led to freezing conditions even in once temperate climates, stressing species unaccustomed to cold. Meanwhile, the combination of acid rain and firestorms, ignited as falling ejecta ignited vast forests, wreaked havoc on landscapes, further depleting resources essential for survival. This period of cascading environmental catastrophes illustrates how, in mass extinction events, one disaster seldom acts alone. Instead, a suite of interrelated processes, from massive waves and poisoned rain to darkness and cold, combine to produce a lethal, prolonged crisis that challenges the adaptability of all life. Yet, even amid such adversity, some species and lineages managed to survive, their resilience shaped by factors such as diet breadth, habitat flexibility, and reproductive strategies. Exploring these survival stories illuminates the remarkable tenacity of life in the face of Earth's most profound crises. As we continue, we will examine how the oceans, vast reservoirs of life, were affected during these cataclysms, detailing the marine extinctions and the fate of the creatures that once dominated Earth's seas. The oceans, the vast interconnected blue heart of Earth, harbor some of the richest and most diverse ecosystems, both in modern times and throughout the planet's deep history. During prehistoric mass extinction events, especially at the close of the Cretaceous period, marine life faced unparalleled challenges as cascading environmental catastrophes unfolded. To fully understand how prehistoric animals died out, it is essential to explore how marine ecosystems and their myriad inhabitants suffered and transformed during these tumultuous times. Marine extinctions during mass extinction events were profound, often surpassing those on land in both scale and immediacy. The marine realm is particularly sensitive to atmospheric and climatic perturbations because many organisms depend delicately on stable ocean chemistry, temperature, and light availability. Changes in these parameters ripple through ocean food webs, affecting both microscopic plankton and the largest of sea creatures. At the KPG boundary, the asteroid impact and associated volcanic activity caused rapid and dramatic changes in oceanic conditions. One immediate consequence was the disruption of photosynthesis in phytoplankton, the microscopic plants forming the base of most marine food chains. Injected dust and aerosols into the atmosphere darkened the skies, greatly reducing sunlight penetration into ocean waters. This impact winter scenario curtailed the productivity of these primary producers, leading to a collapse of marine ecosystems from the bottom up. Additionally, vast quantities of sulfur dioxide and other pollutants produced acid rain, which, once deposited into the oceans, caused acidification, a decrease in seawater pH that impacts calcifying organisms such as coccolithophores, foraminifera, mollusks, and corals. Acidification weakens the calcium carbonate shells and skeletons, essential for both protection and structural support. Consequently, key groups like reef-building corals and shelled plankton suffered severe declines. Beyond acidification and decreased productivity, ocean temperature and oxygen levels faced disruptions. Warming episodes, particularly after the dust settled, led to ocean stratification, where layers of water with different temperatures established, limiting oxygen mixing from surface to deeper layers. This oxygen-depleted environment, termed oceanic anoxia, proved fatal to many marine organisms that require oxygen-rich waters. The fossil record reveals these changes in striking detail. For instance, many species of ammonites, once prolific marine mollusks, vanished abruptly, along with a large portion of reef-dwelling organisms and benthic fauna dependent on stable substrates and oxygen levels. The diversity of marine reptiles, including mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, also plummeted. Some marine lineages survived but experienced severe population bottlenecks and diversity reductions. Importantly, these patterns underscore the vulnerability of complex marine ecosystems to rapid environmental changes. Ecosystem interdependencies mean that the loss of one group, such as phytoplankton or reef builders, can cascade through the food web, affecting fish, marine reptiles, and apex predators. However, not all marine life suffered equally. Certain groups with broad ecological tolerances, flexible diets, or capacity to inhabit deeper or less affected waters demonstrated greater resilience. For example, some species of sharks and teleost fishes survived and diversified after the extinction event, ultimately reshaping oceanic ecosystems in the aftermath. Marine extinctions thus formed a critical component of mass extinction events, driving evolutionary bottlenecks and subsequent radiations. The ocean's centrality to global ecology means these changes exerted wide-reaching influences on climate regulation, nutrient cycling, and biogeochemical systems. By studying marine extinctions through geological records and fossil evidence, we gain vital insights into the consequences of environmental catastrophe and the resilience mechanisms of life. Understanding these past oceanic upheavals also provides a cautionary perspective for contemporary concerns about ocean health amid ongoing human-induced climate change and acidification. As we continue, we will explore the factors that enabled certain animals to survive these profound crises, examining traits such as size, diet, habitat preferences, and biological flexibility that favored resilience in an ever-changing and often hostile prehistoric world. As we reflect on the monumental extinctions that punctuate Earth's past, an enduring question arises. Why did some species survive while countless others perished? The answer to this question lies not in a single factor, but rather an intricate interplay of biological traits and ecological circumstances, among the most influential being size, diet, habitat preference, and biological flexibility. Exploring these attributes provides insight into the survival mechanisms that allowed certain animals, including some lineages of early mammals and birds, to endure mass extinction crises, while others, such as the magnificent non-avian dinosaurs, vanished. Firstly, body size played a critical role in determining vulnerability and survival prospects. Large-bodied animals often require substantial resources to sustain themselves, making them more susceptible to environmental downturns that reduce food availability. Giants like the sauropod dinosaurs, enormous marine reptiles, and megafauna lacked the rapid reproductive rates or ecological adaptability to cope with sudden resource scarcity. Conversely, smaller animals with lower energy demands could subsist on limited resources and occupy niches invisible to their larger counterparts. Their smaller size also facilitated hiding from predators, seeking shelter, and exploiting diverse food sources. Yet, extremely small size was not an absolute guarantee of survival. Some tiny species perished, while certain medium-sized animals persisted. The key lay in complementary factors like diet and habitat. Diet was another pivotal determinant. Species with broad, varied diets, omnivores able to consume plants, insects, and carrion, showed greater resilience. Such dietary flexibility allowed animals to switch food sources in response to environmental upheavals. In contrast, specialized feeders relying on narrow food chains or particular plants were more vulnerable when those resources vanished or became scarce. For instance, herbivores dependent on specific forests or flowering plants that declined significantly would struggle greatly. Similarly, carnivores that preyed exclusively on a limited set of prey faced heightened risk if those prey species declined or disappeared. Generalist predators capable of hunting a variety of animals or scavenging had better chances of persistence. Habitat preferences deeply influenced survival as well. Species able to occupy varied or generalized habitats, such as forests, plains, and riverbanks, or capable of retreating to refuges less affected by catastrophic events, like caves or underground burrows, had an advantage. Aquatic or semi-aquatic animals sometimes survived due to buffering effects of water bodies from atmospheric disturbances. Additionally, animals dwelling in less ecologically disrupted regions or islands sometimes escaped the worst effects, though these areas could become traps if resources dwindled. Biological flexibility embodies the capacity of an organism to adapt genetically, behaviorally, or physiologically to changing environments. Species with high reproductive rates, short generation times, and rapid maturation could adapt more quickly to new selective pressures. Moreover, behaviors such as burrowing, nocturnality, or social living could provide refuges from environmental extremes. For example, mammals' generally high metabolic rates, small sizes, nocturnal behaviors, and burrowing habits likely played vital roles in their survival through the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction. Likewise, certain birds, descendants of small theropods, possessed flight abilities enabling them to escape localized disasters, access varied food sources, and colonize new habitats. The interaction of these traits, size, diet, habitat, and biological flexibility, created a survival matrix. Species lacking in one dimension might compensate through strengths in another, but the most vulnerable were those with large bodies, specialized diets, restricted habitats, and limited adaptability. It is important to note that survival was also influenced by chance factors and local environmental conditions, making mass extinctions complex and multifaceted events. Studying modern survivors and comparing them with extinct lineages provides valuable analogs. For instance, today's generalist mammals and birds display remarkable resilience to environmental change, a pattern echoed in their deep evolutionary history. In summary, the story of survival amidst mass extinction highlights the profound importance of ecological versatility and adaptability. These traits have not only shaped the fates of species in the past, but continue to influence biodiversity resilience in an era of rapid anthropogenic change. As we advance, the next chapters will explore the fates of some of the fascinating groups that did not survive, such as the pterosaurs and marine reptiles, and how their extinction narratives further illuminate the complexities of prehistoric extinctions beyond the dinosaurs themselves. While the spotlight often shines brightest on dinosaurs when discussing prehistoric extinctions, it's essential to recognize that the ancient skies and seas were home to other remarkable groups whose stories of survival and extinction offer profound insights into life's complex history. The pterosaurs, majestic flying reptiles, and the marine reptiles, including mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, and others, were dominant in their respective domains throughout the Mesozoic era, but ultimately disappeared alongside many of their contemporaries during the end-Cretaceous extinction. Examining their fates not only highlights the breadth of the extinction event, but also reveals the interplay of ecological, physiological, and environmental factors that dictated survival and loss beyond the non-avian dinosaurs. Pterosaurs were the first vertebrates to evolve powered flight, their success spanning from the late Triassic to the end of the Cretaceous. Exhibiting immense diversity, they ranged from small, sparrow-sized creatures to giants with wingspans exceeding 10 meters, such as Quetzalcoatlus. Their wings, supported by an elongated fourth finger and stretched with membranes, enabled various flight styles, from soaring over ancient oceans to agile hunting in terrestrial habitats. Despite their soaring dominance, pterosaurs vanished completely at the KPG boundary. Several hypotheses attempt to explain their extinction. One key factor lies in their reproductive biology. Pterosaurs, like most reptiles, laid eggs on land and likely required specific nesting environments. The environmental upheavals near the end of the Cretaceous, including rapid climate shifts, acid rain, and habitat destruction from the impact and volcanism, could have decimated nesting sites, severely impacting reproductive success. Moreover, the post-impact environmental conditions, prolonged darkness, cooling, and diminished food availability would have challenged pterosaurs' survival, particularly larger species with higher energetic needs. Competition with emerging birds, capable of exploiting different niches, and with the added advantage of feathers for insulation and flight control, may have further pressured pterosaur populations. In the oceans, marine reptiles enjoyed their own reign. Ichthyosaurs, resembling modern dolphins, were adapted for fast swimming and deep diving. Plesiosaurs, with their long necks and paddle-like limbs, filled various predatory roles, from ambush hunting to open water pursuit. Mosasaurs, close relatives of today's monitor lizards, were top marine predators during the late Cretaceous, growing to immense sizes and dominating the seas. By the end of the Jurassic, ichthyosaurs were already in decline, disappearing before the final mass extinction. Plesiosaurs and mosasaurs, however, flourished until the close of the Cretaceous. Their extinction coincided with the disappearance of many marine plankton species at the KPG boundary, indicating that disruptions to the marine food web critically affected these large reptiles. Reduced primary productivity from impact-induced darkness and ocean acidification led to cascading failures through the food chain. Physiologically, these marine reptiles likely faced challenges similar to pterosaurs, disrupted reproductive habitats and food shortages. Some groups probably relied on shallow seas for breeding and raising young, environments heavily impacted by sea level changes and habitat destruction during the extinction. Their large body sizes, while advantageous for predation, came with high energetic demands, making survival during prolonged food scarcity highly disadvantageous. The rapidity and global scale of environmental changes outpaced the ability of these reptiles to adapt or migrate to safer refuges. The concurrent extinction of pterosaurs and marine reptiles underscores the extensive scope of the end-Cretaceous ecological collapse, which reached beyond land-dwelling dinosaurs to reshape aerial and marine reptilian life entirely. Yet, it's important to note that not all lineages of flying and aquatic reptiles vanished. Early birds, evolving from small theropod dinosaurs, survived and diversified, and some marine reptile lineages gave evolutionary rise to modern reptiles, like snakes and monitor lizards. In essence, the fates of pterosaurs and marine reptiles extend the extinction narrative beyond the popular image of vanished dinosaurs, revealing a complex mosaic of ecological and evolutionary consequences. Their disappearance reflects how mass extinctions can dismantle entire ecological guilds, altering Earth's biosphere in irreversible ways. As we progress, we will explore the resilience shown by early birds and mammals, groups that endured the extinction and leveraged post-event opportunities to thrive and eventually dominate Earth's ecosystems. As the age of the dinosaurs came to a cataclysmic end approximately 66 million years ago, a new chapter in the history of life unfurled, one marked by the survival and eventual flourishing of early birds and mammals. These groups, which had coexisted with the dinosaurs, often in their ecological shadows, seized the opportunities presented by the mass extinction to embark on remarkable evolutionary radiations that would profoundly shape the modern biosphere. Early birds are direct descendants of small theropod dinosaurs. By the late Cretaceous, various bird lineages had already evolved, exhibiting a range of sizes, diets, and flight capabilities. Unlike their pterosaurian contemporaries, birds possessed feathers not solely for flight, but also for insulation and display, features contributing to their adaptability amid environmental changes. The ability to fly allowed birds unparalleled access to diverse habitats, forests, wetlands, riverbanks, that might have shielded them from some immediate impacts on the ground. Their metabolic rates, respiratory efficiency, and endothermy, warm-bloodedness, granted them greater resilience to temperature fluctuations and food scarcity following the extinction events. Moreover, many early birds were small, which conferred advantages in resource-limited, disturbed environments. Ecologically, early birds displayed varied diets, from insectivory and granivory, seed-eating, to occasional predation, illustrating dietary flexibility. Such generalist feeding strategies likely contributed to their survival during periods when specialized feeders faced nutritional collapse. Post-extinction, birds radiated rapidly, evolving diverse beak shapes, sizes, and behaviors that enabled them to colonize niches left vacant by extinct reptiles and other animals. Mammals, though present throughout the Mesozoic alongside dinosaurs, were typically small, nocturnal, and occupied marginal niches. Their survival through the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction benefits from several factors: small size, which lowered energy requirements; warm-bloodedness, allowing activity in low light and cooler conditions; and diverse reproductive and dietary strategies. Their burrowing and nocturnal habits provided shelter from harsh surface conditions, such as the global darkness and cooling that followed the asteroid impact. Post-extinction, mammals underwent a dramatic evolutionary expansion known as the Paleogene radiation. Freed from the dominance of large dinosaurs, they increased in size, diversified into new dietary guilds, and explored aquatic, arboreal, and terrestrial lifestyles. Early cetaceans, for example, marked the return of mammals to the oceans, while afar from the sea, placental and marsupial mammals evolved an extraordinary variety of forms. The adaptability and resilience of early birds and mammals showcase life's capacity to recover and innovate in the aftermath of global crises. Their evolutionary trajectories highlight how survival may depend on a complex blend of physiological traits, ecological flexibility, and sometimes simple fortuity. This turn of events not only set the foundation for the development of modern ecosystems, but also demonstrates the cyclical nature of mass extinctions as agents of both destruction and renewal. Understanding the survival and success of these groups enriches our appreciation for the delicate yet enduring thread of life weaving through deep time. As we progress, our focus will shift toward later extinction events, examining the demise of megafauna during the Pleistocene and the increasing influence of early human activity on prehistoric biodiversity. These narratives continue to illuminate the ongoing relationship between life and the dynamic Earth it inhabits. As we traverse from the distant past of dinosaurs and marine reptiles to more recent chapters in Earth's complex history, the Pleistocene epoch comes into focus, a geological period that extended from about 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago. It was during this epoch that some of the most iconic large mammals, the megafauna, roamed the continents in abundance. These included creatures like the woolly mammoth, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths, mastodons, and giant bison. Yet, despite their dominance and impressive adaptations to the Ice Age climates, the Pleistocene megafauna experienced a dramatic decline and extinction at the epoch's close, a phenomenon referred to as the Pleistocene extinction or the Quaternary extinction event. The Pleistocene extinction marks a significant loss of biodiversity, particularly among large-bodied mammals, birds, and reptiles. Across North and South America, Eurasia, Australia, and parts of Africa, many megafaunal species disappeared abruptly within a time frame spanning roughly 50,000 to 10,000 years ago, varying by region. The extinction event eradicated nearly 60 to 80% of large mammal species and reshaped terrestrial ecosystems worldwide. The causes behind this extinction have been debated extensively and remain complex, involving multiple interacting factors that unfolded during a period of profound environmental turbulence. One primary influence was the series of glacial and interglacial cycles characterizing the Pleistocene. These repeated advances and retreats of massive ice sheets drastically altered habitats, shifting vegetation zones, isolating populations, and triggering climatic stress. During glaciations, colder, drier climates forced megafauna to adapt to tundra, steppe, and savanna environments, while warming phases introduced forest expansion and habitat fragmentation. These environmental oscillations exerted pressure on populations, sometimes creating bottlenecks and reducing genetic diversity. Another significant factor was the arrival and spread of anatomically modern humans across various continents. As human populations expanded into new regions, they brought with them sophisticated hunting tools, fire management, and social cooperation, enabling effective predation on large animals. The overkill hypothesis posits that human hunting contributed directly to megafaunal declines, particularly in areas like the Americas and Australia, where humans arrived relatively recently and megafauna lacked evolved recognition of humans as predators. While human impact is compelling, it is widely accepted that a combination of human activity and environmental changes drove the extinctions. Climate shifts would have reduced food availability, increased habitat fragmentation, and stressed species survival, while human hunting and habitat modification accelerated declines. Biological factors such as slower reproductive rates and specialized diets among many megafauna also increased their vulnerability. Large body size, while advantageous for survival against most predators, became a liability in rapidly changing environments due to high food requirements and limited ability to adapt quickly to novel pressures. The extinction of the megafauna had profound ecological consequences. Many large herbivores functioned as ecosystem engineers. Grazing mammals shaped vegetation patterns, dispersed seeds, and influenced fire regimes. Their loss transformed landscape ecology, often leading to increased forest density in some regions and altered nutrient cycling. This extinction event invites reflection on the delicate balance between species, environment, and external pressures. It also deepens awareness of how evolutionary and ecological systems respond to rapid change, an understanding especially pertinent in our modern era of accelerated anthropogenic impacts. As our journey through prehistoric extinction continues, the Pleistocene extinction exemplifies not just the end of an epoch packed with spectacular creatures, but also the emergence of new horizons for life, including the rise of human dominance and the ecosystems we now inherit. As humanity's ancestors began their gradual spread across the globe hundreds of thousands of years ago, their emergence coincided with some of the most dynamic and consequential changes in Earth's biosphere. The so-called human factor in prehistoric extinctions refers to the increasingly recognized influence early humans had on the extinction of numerous species, often large animals or megafauna, that had thrived for millennia before their arrival. This interplay between burgeoning human populations, their evolving behaviors, and the existing natural world adds a critical layer of complexity to our understanding of prehistoric extinction events. Early humans, including Homo erectus, Neanderthals, and ultimately Homo sapiens, developed remarkable cognitive abilities, tool use, and social structures. These capabilities allowed them to become effective hunters and adapt to a wide range of environments, from African savannas to Eurasian woodlands, and eventually to the vast landscapes of the Americas and Australia. Archaeological evidence demonstrates that early humans hunted a variety of animals, including large herbivores such as mammoths, mastodons, giant ground sloths, and giant kangaroos. The introduction of human predation brought new pressures to ecosystems finely balanced by natural predator-prey dynamics. Unlike other predators, humans could modify habitats through the use of fire and create advanced weapons, factors that intensified their impact on wildlife populations. This human influence is especially notable because megafaunal species often possessed life history traits that made them vulnerable to overhunting. They tended to have slow reproduction rates, long gestation periods, and extended parental care. Such characteristics meant populations could not rebound quickly from sustained hunting pressures. For example, the rapid disappearance of many large mammals in North America roughly coincides with the arrival of Paleo-Indians around 13,000 years ago. Similarly, in Australia, megafauna extinctions align with the timeline of human colonization, with some species vanishing within a few thousand years after human arrival. Beyond direct hunting, early humans altered environments through fire management and landscape modification. Controlled burns cleared forests for easier hunting and gathering, influencing vegetation patterns and indirectly impacting animal habitats and food availability. However, interpreting the extent of human impact remains challenging. Some scientists argue that climatic fluctuations at the end of the Pleistocene, warming temperatures, changes in precipitation, and habitat shifts were primary drivers, with human activities compounding existing pressures. Others emphasize a primary role for humans, particularly through overhunting. Recent multidisciplinary research employing paleoecological data, megafaunal population modeling, ancient DNA analysis, and archaeological records aims to untangle these complex interactions. There is growing consensus that human influence, particularly in combination with environmental changes, significantly contributed to the widespread declines and extinctions during the late Pleistocene. Understanding the human factor is also highly relevant today. It provides historical context for ongoing biodiversity losses, illustrating how even technologically simple human societies can profoundly reshape ecosystems. Reflecting on these prehistoric interactions fosters awareness of our responsibilities and urges more sustainable coexistence with the living planet. As we continue our journey through extinction history, the role of humans marks a transition from natural geologic and climatic forces to anthropogenic impacts, setting the stage for the present and future stewardship of Earth's rich biological heritage. Our understanding of prehistoric extinctions has evolved dramatically over the past century, shaped by continual scientific discovery, technological advancement, and interdisciplinary collaboration. The story of how dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals died out is no longer viewed through the lens of simple explanations, but is recognized as a complex tapestry woven from multiple causes and effects, an understanding shaped and reshaped by modern science. Early theories about mass extinctions were often constrained by limited fossil records and rudimentary dating techniques. For a long time, the extinction of dinosaurs was attributed primarily to gradual climate change, or the inability of these prehistoric reptiles to compete with emerging mammals and birds. However, these ideas began to shift with the groundbreaking work of the Alvarez team in the 1980s, who proposed that a catastrophic asteroid impact at the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary triggered the extinction event. The discovery of the Chicxulub crater lent strong support to this hypothesis, marking a paradigm shift in paleontology and earth sciences. Since then, the diversity of extinction theories has expanded, encompassing not only extraterrestrial impacts, but also massive volcanism, such as the eruptions producing the Deccan Traps, climate fluctuations, sea level changes, ocean acidification, and ecosystem collapses. Modern science recognizes that extinction events often involve synergistic effects, a vicious combination of environmental stressors rather than a single cause. Advancements in radiometric dating, isotope geochemistry, and sedimentology have refined our timelines, revealing that volcanic activity and asteroid impact might have overlapped, compounding environmental effects. High-resolution stratigraphic studies and computer modeling allow scientists to reconstruct atmospheric conditions, ocean chemistry, and climate variability, providing deeper insights into the extinction mechanisms. The use of molecular biology and ancient DNA techniques has opened new horizons in understanding the evolutionary relationships and survival genetics of species before, during, and after extinction events. These approaches show how some lineages endured genetic bottlenecks and radiated anew in changed worlds. Moreover, interdisciplinary approaches blending paleontology, geology, climatology, and ecology emphasize the dynamic interplay between Earth systems and life. Theories increasingly appreciate that extinctions are mediated by ecological complexities, competition, predation, habitat fragmentation, and ecosystem resilience, all influenced by external catastrophes and gradual changes. Modern debates continue over the relative contributions of different drivers in specific extinctions. For instance, discussions still explore how much volcanic activity versus asteroid impact contributed to the KPG extinction. Similarly, new discoveries of fossil sites and improved analytical methods continuously refine our understanding of ecosystems preceding and succeeding extinctions. Science today views mass extinctions not as isolated events, but as pivotal processes driving evolutionary cycles. Destruction intertwined with opportunity. They illuminate the fragility and adaptability of life and serve as warnings and lessons, especially as contemporary biodiversity faces accelerating human-induced pressures. Continued research promises to uncover further secrets hidden in the fossil record, geochemical signatures, and genetic archives. As technology advances and collaboration flourishes, our comprehension of prehistoric extinctions will deepen, helping us better appreciate life's resilience and the factors that threaten it. This evolving scientific journey connects past and present, reminding us that the forces which once shaped Earth's ancient biota continue to resonate today, urging stewardship over our planet's rich and delicate diversity. When we think of dinosaurs, our minds often conjure images of massive, scaly beasts roaming prehistoric landscapes, creatures long extinct and confined to the pages of history. Yet, in a profound and fascinating twist of evolutionary fate, dinosaurs have not entirely vanished from our world. Instead, they persist in the form of birds, living, breathing descendants of the theropod dinosaurs that once dominated Earth's terrestrial ecosystems. This legacy underscores the continuity of life and the intricate tapestry of evolution bridging the ancient past with the present. Birds trace their origins back to a group of small, bipedal, feathered theropod dinosaurs from the late Jurassic period, over 150 million years ago. The most famous early bird, Archaeopteryx, exhibits characteristics of both non-avian dinosaurs and modern birds, with fossil evidence showing feathered wings alongside reptilian features such as teeth and a long tail. This transitional form illustrates the gradual evolutionary progression from ground-dwelling theropods capable of gliding or limited flight to the diverse array of birds we observe today. Feathers, once thought to be unique to birds, are now known to have evolved initially in theropod dinosaurs for purposes such as insulation, display, and camouflage long before their co-option for powered flight. This revelation upends the traditional image of dinosaurs and highlights the physiological and behavioral adaptations that helped this lineage survive and diversify. Birds inherited many characteristics from their dinosaur ancestors, including a specialized skeletal structure optimized for flight, high metabolic rates, and complex respiratory systems. These traits enabled early birds to exploit aerial niches, escape predators, and access new food resources, offering evolutionary advantages, particularly in the aftermath of the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction that eliminated most non-avian dinosaurs. Today, with over 10,000 known species, birds exhibit incredible diversity in form, behavior, and ecology, ranging from tiny hummingbirds to the towering ostrich. They inhabit nearly every ecosystem on the planet, serving vital roles as pollinators, seed dispersers, predators, and prey within complex food webs. Recognizing birds as living dinosaurs reshapes our understanding of extinction, survival, and adaptation. It illustrates that extinction is not always a terminal endpoint, but part of an ongoing evolutionary dialogue, where lineages can transform, diverge, and persist in new forms. Moreover, it invites us to appreciate the connections linking us to deep time. The feathers we see in a bird's flight, the hollow bones enabling its soaring, all echo ancient evolutionary innovations honed over millions of years. As we consider the legacy of dinosaurs through their avian descendants, we glimpse the resilience of life and the remarkable pathways of evolution that continue to shape our natural world. This legacy challenges us to marvel at the past while engaging thoughtfully with the living creatures that share our planet today. In the next chapters, we will explore the many mysteries that still shroud prehistoric extinctions, unraveling unanswered questions and ongoing research that keeps the story of Earth's ancient life vibrant and ever-evolving. Despite the remarkable advances in paleontology, geology, and related sciences, prehistoric extinctions continue to hold many profound mysteries. Each new fossil discovery or analytical breakthrough often opens just as many questions as it answers, reminding us of the vast complexity of Earth's biological and environmental history. Understanding these unknowns is essential, as it guides current research and shapes how we interpret the patterns and processes that led to the disappearance of countless species, including the dinosaurs. One major mystery revolves around the precise causes and mechanisms behind mass extinctions. While theories like asteroid impacts, volcanism, climate change, and sea level fluctuations have strong support, the relative contributions and interactions among these factors remain debated. For example, at the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary, was the asteroid impact solely responsible for the extinction of non-avian dinosaurs? Or did massive volcanism from the Deccan Traps amplify environmental stress over thousands of years? Current evidence suggests a complex interplay, but gaps in our understanding of timelines and ecological responses persist. In the case of the Permian-Triassic extinction, the Great Dying, the severity and rapidity of species loss raises questions about the thresholds of ecosystem collapse. What triggers such abrupt environmental tipping points? How resilient are ecosystems before cascading failures become inevitable? The role of methane release from oceanic clathrates, ocean acidification, and anoxia also remain active topics of inquiry, with the details still being unraveled. Another unresolved area involves the selective nature of extinctions, why some species survived while close relatives perished. Traits linked to survival, such as size, metabolism, habitat preference, and reproductive strategies, offer clues, but numerous exceptions challenge these generalizations. The mechanisms that enabled certain marine and terrestrial lineages to endure remain only partially understood. The fossil record itself poses challenges. Incomplete preservation, biases in depositional environments, and gaps in sampling can obscure true patterns of extinction and recovery. New technologies like synchrotron tomography, isotope geochemistry, and ancient DNA sequencing are helping fill these gaps. But for many extinct species, especially those with fragile remains, our insights are limited. Fundamental questions about the pace of recovery after mass extinctions also endure. How quickly can biodiversity rebound? What factors influence evolutionary innovation and the rise of new ecosystems? Evidence suggests recovery times vary substantially among events and ecosystems, but the underlying controls of these processes are active areas of study. Lastly, intriguing puzzles remain about extinction events outside the established Big Five, such as the less understood Late Devonian or the more recent human-influenced extinctions. Understanding the causes, extent, and consequences of these lesser-known events continues to challenge scientists. These unsolved mysteries inspire ongoing paleontological expeditions, laboratory analyses, and interdisciplinary collaborations worldwide. Unveiling the secrets of prehistoric extinctions not only satisfies human curiosity, but also informs contemporary conservation, by illuminating life's vulnerabilities and resilience. As we conclude our exploration, we reflect on the cyclical nature of mass extinctions, the profound losses and subsequent diversifications that define life's enduring saga on Earth. The continuous pursuit of knowledge ensures that future discoveries will deepen our understanding and appreciation of the planet's complex and dynamic history. Mass extinction events, while often seen as harbingers of endings and destruction, are also fundamental drivers of evolutionary innovation and renewal. Throughout Earth's history, these profound episodes of widespread species loss have acted as powerful reset buttons, reshaping the biosphere and setting the stage for new life forms to arise, diversify, and dominate. Understanding this cyclical pattern reveals the intricate relationship between death and creation that underpins the dynamic tapestry of life. Mass extinctions are characterized by their ability to rapidly and drastically reduce biodiversity across multiple taxonomic groups and ecosystems worldwide. These episodes disrupt established ecological balances, eliminating dominant species and entire lineages that have thrived for millions of years. Such loss is catastrophic, reshaping habitats, food webs, and evolutionary trajectories. However, following these crises, the Earth often experiences biotic recovery phases marked by bursts of evolutionary diversification known as adaptive radiations. With the removal of competitors and predators, surviving lineages exploit newly available ecological niches, explore novel adaptations, and evolve into forms previously absent or rare. For instance, the Permian-Triassic extinction, the most severe extinction event recorded, eradicated approximately 90 to 96% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial species. In its aftermath, entirely new groups rose to prominence, including the archosaurs, ancestors of crocodilians, pterosaurs, and dinosaurs, fundamentally transforming ecosystems. Similarly, the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction that ended the reign of non-avian dinosaurs allowed mammals and birds to radiate and occupy ecological roles previously inaccessible. This evolutionary diversification ultimately gave rise to the wide array of mammalian species, including humans, that dominate modern terrestrial ecosystems. This death and renewal cycle reveals nature's resilience and capacity for innovation in response to adversity. Evolution operates not just as a gradual, linear process, but often through punctuated events where rapid turnover accelerates change and diversification. The collapses caused by extinction events, tragic as they are, facilitate the creative burst of life's adaptability. Importantly, these cycles are influenced by complex interactions between Earth's geophysical forces, tectonics, volcanism, climate change, and biological factors, competition, predation, adaptation. The interplay of these elements shapes the timing, severity, and outcomes of extinctions and recoveries. Recognizing the cyclical nature of mass extinctions also offers vital perspectives for contemporary conservation biology. It reminds us that while extinction is a natural component of life's history, the unprecedented rate of current biodiversity loss, triggered by human activities, is without clear precedent. Understanding past cycles may guide us in preserving resilience and evolutionary potential for the future. In sum, the narrative of mass extinctions and evolution is one of intertwined destruction and creation, a continual dance shaping the ever-changing mosaic of life on our planet. This ongoing story, illuminated by the fossil record and modern science, underscores both the fragility and tenacity embedded in the natural world. As we reflect upon Earth's long and intricate history of mass extinctions, it becomes clear that these ancient events are far more than distant catastrophes confined to the past. The lessons they embody resonate powerfully with the challenges that our modern world faces, from biodiversity loss to climate change habitat destruction, and the complex dynamics of global ecosystems. By connecting prehistoric extinction events to the present, we can better understand not only the fragility of life, but also the pathways toward resilience and stewardship. Prehistoric extinctions reveal that Earth's biosphere is a dynamic system shaped by both gradual environmental shifts and sudden, unpredictable catastrophes. The broad collapse of ecosystems following events such as the Permian-Triassic or the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinctions reminds us that when multiple stressors converge, be it volcanic activity, asteroid impacts, climate upheavals, or habitat fragmentation, the consequences for life can be dire. Today, human activity is exerting a profound influence upon these same ecological parameters. Rapid climate change driven by greenhouse gas emissions, massive deforestation, changes in land use, pollution, and the introduction of invasive species represent unprecedented disruptions. In many ways, the Earth is undergoing a modern mass extinction, a phenomenon some scientists term the sixth extinction, with species disappearing at rates estimated to be tens to hundreds of times greater than natural background levels. From the fossil record and geological data, we learn that biodiversity loss not only diminishes species numbers, but also weakens ecosystem functions, such as nutrient cycling, pollination, and carbon sequestration. The cascading effects can unravel relationships integral to planetary health, just as they did millions of years ago. Yet, history also imparts resilience. Life has weathered past extinctions and evolved novel forms in their wake. The evolutionary radiations following these events demonstrate the potential for recovery, adaptation, and renewal. This insight fuels hope that, through informed conservation efforts, habitat restoration, and global cooperation, we may mitigate current biodiversity crises and foster ecosystems capable of withstanding future stresses. Furthermore, prehistoric extinctions emphasize the importance of understanding underlying causes. Distinguishing natural fluctuations from anthropogenic impacts sharpens our capacity to intervene effectively. Technologies such as remote sensing, genetic analysis, and climate modeling provide valuable tools to monitor changes and predict vulnerabilities before irreversible losses occur. Ultimately, the echoes of prehistoric extinctions remind us of the intertwined fate of life and Earth's environment. Our actions today carry the profound responsibility of shaping the next chapter in this ongoing story. By honoring the lessons from the past, embracing scientific understanding, and fostering sustainability, humanity can contribute to the resilience and richness of the planet's living heritage for generations to come. As we reach the final segment of this exploration, we look forward to the continuing mystery, ongoing research, and future discoveries that will deepen our comprehension of extinction, evolution, and life's enduring saga on Earth. The story of prehistoric extinctions is far from complete, and as we journey towards the present, the mystery surrounding these monumental events continues to deepen. Ongoing research, powered by ever-advancing technologies and interdisciplinary approaches, promises to illuminate the many unanswered questions about how, why, and when life on Earth has faced such profound crises, and, importantly, how it has recovered and transformed. Current scientific inquiries delve into increasingly fine details, exploring molecular fossils, isotopic signatures, and ancient environmental proxies. Cutting-edge imaging techniques allow us to examine fossilized embryos, soft tissues, and bone microstructures, unlocking secrets about the physiology, reproduction, and behavior of extinct species. Genomic studies and ancient DNA analysis, though limited by time and preservation conditions, offer tantalizing glimpses into evolutionary relationships and adaptive changes associated with survival and extinction. Researchers are also refining climate and ecological models, integrating geological data with biological records to simulate prehistoric environments and extinction dynamics. These models enhance our understanding of feedback loops, how climate change, volcanism, ocean chemistry, and biodiversity interact to trigger cascading effects. For example, studies investigating the timing and impact of Deccan Traps volcanism relative to the Chicxulub impact are refining the narrative surrounding the end-Cretaceous extinction. Emerging fields such as paleoecology and Earth system science are revealing the complexity of ecological networks before and after extinction events. By reconstructing food webs, habitat structures, and species interactions, scientists are gaining a more nuanced appreciation of ecosystem resilience and vulnerability. This understanding sheds light on why some groups vanished suddenly, others declined gradually, and some bounced back with remarkable diversification. Moreover, novel fossil discoveries continue to challenge existing theories. From enigmatic creatures previously unknown to new fossil sites pushing back or narrowing timelines, each finding adds layers to our comprehension and sometimes prompts re-evaluation of prevailing hypotheses. Importantly, ongoing research places prehistoric extinction events within a broader context that includes current biodiversity losses and ecosystem stresses. This linkage not only provides historical perspective, but also underscores the relevance of past lessons to modern conservation and climate action efforts. The investigation of prehistoric extinctions is a testament to human curiosity and the pursuit of knowledge, a journey that intertwines biology, geology, chemistry, and climatology across disciplines and generations. As we advance, it remains a vibrant frontier, inviting future discoveries that will enrich our understanding of life's extraordinary saga on Earth. In contemplating the continuing mystery of prehistoric extinctions, we are reminded that life is both fragile and resilient, subject to forces vast and complex. The pursuit of uncovering these ancient secrets fuels our appreciation of life's persistence and the delicate balance sustaining it today, inspiring stewardship for the natural world in the years to come.